Did it ever occur to you back then that this might someday be that you would somehow end up in food and media? And was this a prophecy?
So let me first say that is an unbelievable pull.
Is this what the cool kids do? All right, today's guest has worn a lot of hats. Family chef, Miso mac and cheese evangelist, and a guy who once wrote a letter to his future self in 6th grade and actually delivered on it? Pun intended. He's the general manager of streaming and direct-to-consumer at Tastemade, who was just acquired in a $90 million acquisition by Wonder, who owns GrubHub and Blue Apron. The goal is to blend food, media, technology, and commerce into an ambitious mealtime super app. But Evan Bregman's story goes even deeper, from high school speech champ performing Onion-style satire to USC Film School to a career that's now completely come full circle, interning with documentary legend Kirby Dick, and now sitting down with this Kirby, grinds, not Dick. Evan Bregman's here, and yes, we got some questions.
Kirby got raps, got a podcast, facts with the flame. Flashing the stats on my own Substack, the passion ain't match this game.
All right, let me start by saying that I'm obsessed with food. I work in media, obviously, and I live for media. What I love about this space is we're not just in it, but we're consumers. And so today's podcast, we're serving up a rare and beautiful fusion of both business and guilty pleasure. Sometimes I confuse which one's which. Joined today with Evan Bregman, who is a general manager of streaming and direct-to-consumer at Tastemade, which is now part of the $90 million Wonder acquisition that's making moves in the food, media, and tech circles. Evan, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course.
Love the Tastemade shirt. You're wearing the swag.
I do want to mention, I don't know if you realize this, but we're in a bit of a full circle moment here. And what I mean by that is you started your career, or at least early in your career, working with Kirby Dick, right?
Yes.
Probably know where I'm going here. And now you're sitting down with Kirby Grinds.
There you go.
Doing this podcast. And I don't know if it's destiny or just solid booking, but either way, it's definitely something I wanted to call out.
Digging into the archives there. I interned with Kirby Dick when I was in college.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, channeling my inner Nardwar, if you're familiar.
I'm not, sorry.
Okay. A lot of people aren't, so no problem. What I want to do is let me set the table here quick for you, and then also to listeners, because this is the first time that I'm doing this one-on-one format. That's something I've been wanting to do for years, as I mentioned to Evan. And what this is about is chopping it up with people shaping the future of streaming. Obviously, talking about business, going to mix some insight with strategy with a few spicy left turns. But at the heart of it, we're here to understand the people behind the platforms, whether you're running billion-dollar deals or quietly building out infrastructure that powers some of our favorite apps. That's what this is about. And again, glad you could join us.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
Of course. All right, so let's talk about the big news. Wonder, I think 13 days now, not too long ago, acquired Tastemade in a $90 million deal. Can you walk us through that, how that came to be, or what the vision is starting to look like behind the scenes, and how Tastemade fits into this all in this mealtime super app play?
Yeah, like you said, Wonder has a very, very big vision and mission to be, the super app for mealtime and to make great food more accessible by leveraging proprietary technology. The big thing that Wonder currently features uniquely is this idea of multi-restaurant ordering, where you can, as a customer, order from several different restaurant menus in the exact same order. It all comes to your house within 30 minutes. They've got over 30 locations in the Northeast right now, and expanding really quickly. Tastemade becomes the storytelling arm. When you order from a restaurant, you're doing it because you like the food, but you're also probably doing it because there's a story behind it, right? I order from my local sushi place because it's just down the street from here. I've met the owners. I want to support them. Having that kind of storytelling around a restaurant brand is super important, whether it's affiliated with a celebrity or whether there's storytelling around the actual food. And that's what Tastemade is here to provide, to kind of link together the family of brands that's underneath the Wonder Group. And then on top of that, it creates this really great full funnel advertising opportunity with Tastemade CTV ad inventory at the cornerstone. Essentially at the highest level, right? Strategically, major media companies are in a contraction period, right? I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. You got to start thinking at a certain point, what happens when those major media companies are no longer major? There's a vacuum, and something has to fill that vacuum. There will be major media companies. Well, but what does that look like? I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. At the same time, traditional lifestyle media over the past many decades has tried and failed to expand beyond just lifestyle media and more into a retail, e-commerce, you name it, like other revenue for larger businesses. And largely that has been unsuccessful. In an era, again, of major media company contraction, if you're building the next great lifestyle food brand or collection of brands, wouldn't you want to own the next generation of lifestyle media? Yes, you would. And now Wonder does.
Nice. So much good stuff. You teed up for the rest of the conversation. I wasn't too familiar with Wonder. I mean, I'm familiar with Mark Lore, familiar as I was doing research. I'm familiar with Blue Apron, of course, obviously familiar with Tastemade, rocking the merch and all that, familiar with GrubHub. But yeah, less so Wonder. I think Wonder started popping at stores after I left the Northeast, left New York City. When I've done my research into Wonder, I'm like, man, shit, that would have been great like in the city, because of what I used to do. I used to use GrubHub, and what I'm doing some savage Saturday or Sunday evenings is I would order from Emmett's. I would order from Shake Shack. I would order from this. I'd literally do like 8 orders because I want everything. And to the point, like the door guys were just letting people in at some point. They're like, what the hell is this guy doing upstairs? And so the idea of Wonder, like this virtual, like this food hall, curating food from all these restaurants, local and also nationwide, is a super cool idea. And then obviously you mix in some food delivery content, and there's a lot to talk about here.
It's also vertically integrating. It also makes it a better experience for the customer at the end of the day. You're able to get your food more quickly, fresher. And when you're ordering from a third-party app in the way that you just described, especially if you're doing it for multiple restaurants, you're paying multiple fees, you're paying multiple drivers. The restaurant is upcharging you in many cases. With Wonder, because it's all vertically integrated, all of that becomes savings that could pass along to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love it. Is there more pressure now with this acquisition? Is there more freedom? Like, how do you balance bold innovation and just consistent execution kind of as you've been running Tastemade?
Yeah. Anytime, whether it's through an acquisition or whether it's just through natural growth, every business gets to a point you get bigger, and that creates a fresh set of challenges. Typically, that means you get more bureaucracy, which is in many ways a good thing. We're now working with many more employees across many more divisions. There's got to be some kind of setup to be able to actually make that all work together from a purely logistical standpoint. The challenge is to make sure that doesn't stifle innovation. I think the good news, I have been super encouraged in these first couple of weeks working with the Wonder team, and obviously in the lead up to this, just meeting everybody. The entrepreneurial spirit at Tastemade is very much in line with the entrepreneurial spirit at Wonder. There is a major bias toward action. There is a lot of emphasis on smart risk-taking and innovation and failing fast in order to learn and move on to the next thing. You got to realize Wonder as a company started out with a completely different business model, started by having their innovative technology for cooking food loaded into Sprinter vans that were going to pull up to your house and prepare the food in front of your house and then hand it to you. When that proved unsustainable, they completely pivoted now to these retail locations. And so this is a company that, like I said, very in line with Tastemade as far as just like trying stuff, understanding what the vision is that you're trying to get after, being really specific about what that is, both in the medium term and in the long term, and then trying a lot of stuff in the short term around that vision in order to work the problem until you get to where you need to be.
Fail fast. Embrace failure, right? Yeah. We're all going to fail, like in some way, shape, or form, and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, moving on, pivoting. It's really not talked about enough, and fear and failure, kind of like taboo words. They're really gifts in disguise.
Yeah, look at Tastemade. I mean, Tastemade started out very focused on the social world when really that was where lifestyle media was moving. And then in 2018, did something that a lot of Tastemade's competitors at the time were not doing and moved into streaming. That became the biggest growth engine of the company, still is today. But at the time, that was not something that anybody who was doing a similar thing was even really thinking about. And so, that I think that spirit of innovation and experimentation is going to thrive inside of this now bigger environment.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. True or false, you built the Tastemade marketing team?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Okay. And then I saw that, I think it's on your LinkedIn, customer acquisition costs. You did some good stuff there. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
We built a marketing team without really knowing how to market in a brand new environment called FAST and AVOD and digital linear. I think a lot of experimentation on Tastemade's side had made it clear that traditional ways of marketing IP and marketing the Tastemade brand, what you might do if you are a broadcast channel or something, those didn't really work, right? I had the benefit of walking into this role 2.5 years ago with some of that experimentation done, and also with the benefit of understanding a lot about the ways that digital platforms drive traffic. At the end of the day, watching something on the Roku channel, the fundamental dynamics of why a customer decides to click play on a video or a linear feed is pretty similar to why they do the same thing on YouTube. It's pretty similar to why they do the same thing on Instagram, which is to say that your thumbnail's got to be great. In this case, our artwork is showing up next to the biggest IP in the world, right? The biggest IP from Netflix and Apple TV Plus and Prime Video, you name it. So we invested heavily in our artwork to make sure that we were showing up in the right ways. You've got to invest in trends. You've got to invest in stuff that the algorithm is going to like, that people are going to be searching for, right? We have a programming strategy that really leans into that, using big names where necessary, but also we have a great show right now called Forking Delicious. That is a take on the 100 best dishes, right? So that's made for people to consume in one sitting, made for people to click on, to probably debate over. We haven't gotten to number one yet, but trust me, number one's going to be controversial. Anyway, and then on top of that, working with innovative companies who are using data to track attribution from an impression to a tune-in, to be able to actually then understand the dynamics of how customer acquisition can work. It's really easy to get overwhelmed by how much you're paying for an individual impression when you don't really know if that impression or that 3 or 5 impressions is actually turning into somebody actually tuning in. But by digging into the data, which there is at the same time a lot of, but also not enough of, by digging into the data, there are companies out there who we've been able to work with who have been able to close the loop a bit, give us a better idea of exactly how our spend is working, get way better targeting, make sure that we're targeting people who are actually likely to not just watch Tastemade, but also come back, right, the next week and keep coming back over a long period of time. And ultimately, that's what's driven success. And so it's sort of it's the same combination as elsewhere. It's making sure that the brand is great, making sure that we're telling the brand story properly and show in all of the different places that we show up. That feeds back into a programming strategy, right? That then plays into all of the dynamics of where we show up. And then actually using data to acquire customers in a way that we can like truly measure and understand. Because at that point, the amount that you spend doesn't matter nearly as much because you can see if you're profitable on it.
100%. I always make jokes about the resume that says manage a $5 trillion ad budget.
Right.
But what?
Right.
One thing you mentioned, Evan, it really just, I don't think gets spoken about enough is frequency. And like, how are you thinking about frequency and getting people to return? Like pre-acquisition, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'll say I don't think it changes necessarily post-acquisition. Like at the end, fundamentally in our future world, we're still seeking to make Tastemade the leading lifestyle media.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I only said just because you have a lot more tools.
So. A lot of different tools, right? Like different touch points within the family of people that hopefully are endemic to us, like even if they may not have heard of us.
Yeah.
Frankly, again, like I try to live in a world of acquisition costs and not necessarily impressions. And so I'll serve as many impressions as it takes if I know that customer is being targeted because they're going to be a loyal consumer of ours. We're getting a lot more specific now about exactly who we think are the low-hanging fruit and how that target lines up with our like overall brand target audience and who our brand message really resonates with. Over time, I think you're going to see us probably target more specifically in those rounds. It's just like any other media brand, and we just have better data, right? So if you are watching a cable channel, it's probably pretty likely that you don't necessarily tune into that cable channel again the following week. That's probably been true since the 80s and 90s. Nothing has necessarily changed about that fast. Now I can tell you though, and this is public data, forget where I read it, but something like, churn is something like 50%. So like 50% of people who are watching our channel this week are probably not going to be watching it next week. Ultimately, if I need to pay a little bit to get that person to come back and make that into 75%, just like any subscription business, our ads business is no different. It's cheaper, number one, for me to do that. And number two, it provides a base that we can continue to grow our audience on. So we do think of it in that way, right? We're thinking about how many times it takes to acquire a customer, conquest them from a competitor. And then also we're running, especially with our stunt strategy, we're creating excuses and creating marketing moments where someone who may have tuned us out a couple of weeks ago, there's a reason to come back. There's immediacy. We're premiering new shows. We've got a fresh slate. We got Grill Week coming up. It's summer. You want to start cooking outside. Come back and get inspired for us as the season changes.
Yeah, obviously Tastemade originals, and then are you also pitching some of the exclusive, like basically you're leading into Tastemade originals to drive that content strategy and tune in.
That's right. At the end of the day, part of the brand promise has to be you can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah,
that goes for customers where they're not necessarily. There are some of our shows where that's like truly meaningful. We exclusively premiere a bunch of Jamie Oliver shows. Last year, we'll do the same this year with our partners at Fremantle. That is important to customers, but there are other, in general, as an overall strategy, it's also really important to our distributors, right?
Yeah.
They know you're not going to get this unless you bring Tastemade to your platform. And because it's high quality, Emmy-winning content, that really resonates.
Obviously, retail media conversations and where this is all kind of going with the Wonder Tastemade. Are you going to find that the content becomes now more actionable? Like, are we going to see content that's nudging people toward a food delivery or a purchase?
I wouldn't characterize it as more so. Inspiration has always been our North Star. You tune into Food Network, you see sport. It's all competition at this point. Competition, frankly, doesn't rate particularly well for us. People like to come to us to get ideas, to get inspired, to realize that they can do really awesome cooking over an open flame, like stuff that they maybe have never thought of before. That has already been a key driver of Tastemade Plus, right? The other piece of the business that I oversee. More than half of the subscribers to Tastemade Plus in our surveys pretty consistently tell us they learned about us because they saw us on television. They saw us on television and they said, hey, I want to come and cook with Tastemade as well. So that mode of inspiration now has more ways to potentially express itself. Obviously, the kind of ultimate dream here is you see it cooked, you can open up an app and the thing either fully cooked, pre-portioned ingredients or the groceries in order to make that recipe can be on your doorstep in 15 minutes. Those are the types of conversations that even just 2 weeks into this, we are already having across these family of brands. So I wouldn't say it's going to happen more. We've always been about inspiration. Now having a broader tool set to truly create an interactive experience for customers. As someone who's worked in my entire career in what I've always considered to be interactive narratives, this is like just an unbelievable playground.
Let's talk about engagement. As far as frequency, just engagement in general, and I know this is 13 days in, right? So this is all speculative. Like we're just kind of riffing. It's two guys riffing at what's possible. As I use Tastemade Plus, I see what this next version could look like with these now other pieces instead of just being able to add the ingredients, being able to do that, but also having a dish prepared directly to me. But engagement. Like as a former UX consultant guy, like I love using engagement to drive. I love using rewarding loyalty to drive engagement, rewarding your supporters and to get them coming back, that frequency that I was talking about. And you're sitting on a gold mine of data. Maybe you were before, you're sitting on a lot more now. Can we see things like watch 10 hours of Tastemade originals, get a free month of Blue Apron, or 3 months subscribe to Tastemade Plus, get X amount off your GrubHub order? Like all these things now become possible within this flywheel within Wonder.
Yeah. You're thinking in the right vein. And like I said, like those conversations are already happening just a couple weeks into this as we just consider the possibilities across the broader group. There are various different ways to be able to execute on it. I think to your point, having just a broader pool of first party data to be able to pair up with the data that we already have from Tastemade Plus, and then also just the broader data set of our audience watching across all of these various platforms, right? In a fragmented world, we are everywhere and can bring it all together. To marry that with first party data, yeah, we are going to use it for our own engagement purposes. And then we're also going to be able to package that up and bring it to advertisers to create like a solution that is really interesting to them and to consumers at the end of the day, right? All of that engagement creates a really seamless experience that advertisers, I think, are going to have a lot of fun with, and that consumers, I think, are going to respond to really well.
So do you identify as a food guy? Are you a food fan?
Very much so. So I've always loved cooking. I was the kid who like woke up early and like wrote up menus so that when my parents got up, I would make breakfast for them. And then during pandemic lockdowns, I became the family chef, as many people did. My work schedule at the time had me wrapping up a little bit earlier in Pacific time because the company I was working for was based in Central time. And so my cooking skills, a chef on our network, Frankie Salenza, Emmy winner, he always says that if you really want to understand how to cook a dish, you need to cook it 5 times. And through my experience just cooking more for my family, I really saw that come true. I cooked many dishes, many times, developed my own spins on it, got really, really confident in the kitchen to be able to improvise a lot more. And now I'm still the primary chef for our family. My wife likes to say that she's forgotten how to cook. I think she's still pretty good. I think she's selling herself short. But yeah, cooking has very much always been a part of my life, and now even more so here. I like to experiment with new recipes that come up from our individual shows. I love getting new ingredients. We get a farmer's box with lots of different vegetables. I live here in California. We get tons of fresh vegetables. And so I'll get like a random radish that I've never seen before, and I'll have to figure out what am I going to do with it.
Nice. Two questions, Evan. Myself, I love to cook as well. And I love it's some of those unplanned dishes where maybe I'm just using what I need to get rid of, or maybe I just think this, that, and whatever could be creative. Let's just meld that together and see what we get. 2 questions for you is, what's your favorite thing to cook, favorite dish or cuisine? And then also, what's your favorite just cuisine to consume?
Okay. My favorite dish to cook is whatever my kids will eat. It's really like, it does not matter the effort. If like my kids will eat it and like it, I'm like, all right, we got it. So to that end, I make what I think of as sort of like a fancy mac and cheese. It's a miso Parmesan spaghetti that is just absolutely killer. It's also super easy to make. It requires 0 prep. You literally make the pasta, you throw in butter and some of the cooking water and some miso and Parmesan, and just mix it all up like cacio e pepe, and it's ready to go. It tastes absolutely spectacular. My kids love that one. I also have a great salmon that is just like a quick marinade in soy and miso as well. You can tell I cook a lot with pantry staples. To your point, Kirby, like whatever I got, I'm just going to try to set it up. That one my kids like as well. What's my favorite thing to eat? I don't know. I love eating. It's the honest truth. I love eating just about everything. I have a huge sweet tooth. I love like a really well done, simple hot fudge sundae is unbelievable. I'll tell you what I have developed a completely renewed passion for as I have become a better home chef. As you can tell, I have 2 young kids. Pretty much everything that I cook, I got to do it in like 30 to 60 minutes. That's what I got. It doesn't matter if it's a weekday or a weekend. Like I'm not doing any project things. So I have come to truly appreciate a broth, a sauce, a salsa that when I taste it, I can tell, oh, someone worked on this for a week.
Yeah.
Like really did so, like created flavors that there's no way that I can do, just because the amount of time, the amount of steps that it takes to actually create it is really special. Obviously, I live in Southern California, tons of unbelievable Mexican food all around me. And so I have tried just about every salsa from every single taco joint that's around me. And I know the ones that they made that morning, and I know the ones that they have made for the past week. And I definitely go for the ones that they've made for the past week.
What I love about cooking is, and this is just somewhere along the way, I found out this is just my drive in life, is creating something from scratch and turning it into something. And some binary, just creator, mindset. Like, it honestly doesn't matter of this app development company. We were Roku's first app development company. That was really cool. And we got acquired. That's cool. But in some bizarre world, if I made a pizza from scratch, created the dough, let it ferment for 5 days, and it just made this thing from nothing, like, it's the same thing, and it's the coolest thing. That is like my spice of life. What keeps me going is just to make something that didn't exist before.
Yeah, especially when you spend all your entire day really thinking conceptually, strategically, you're typing at a computer all day, and then like you get to go make something with your hands, and then you get to experience it, you know? Woodworking is awesome. You get to make something with your hands, and then you look at it, maybe you can get inside of it, maybe you can sit on it, but like there's something about eating that just like hits every single sense. And to your point, you're using your hands, you're nourishing yourself, you're nourishing your family. I agree. It's really special.
And to the point with serving the family and being able to not only make something from nothing, but to see the joy and the happiness, hopefully, of the person consuming that. Just the coolest thing. Speaking of food, during the 2004 National Forensic League tournament, you performed an onion-style satire skit in front of hundreds, earning 8th place out of 200 teams. Did it ever occur to you back then that this might someday be that you would somehow end up in food and media? And was this a prophecy?
So let me first say that is an unbelievable pull. My partner, Dan Kane, who is still my closest friend, I was literally just texting with him this morning. We still to this day talk about, we missed the final round by like 1 or 2 points, and we knew exactly the round that like just didn't go exactly right in order to get there. That was an unbelievable experience. At that time, I knew that I wanted to work in media. I was just graduating from high school. I'd received a letter from myself that I had written to myself in 6th grade saying, in 6th grade, to my older self, by now you've gotten into USC to go to the film school. And sure enough, that's exactly what I was doing.
Wow.
So I knew I wanted to work in media for sure. I definitely didn't fully understand the way that I was going to be able to lean into my passion for media and my passion for technology at the same time. And that's really what my experience at USC in the film school, and also at the Institute for Multimedia Literacy at USC, that really crystallized for me how I could turn that into a career, even though the jobs that I was interested in did not really exist at that time. I definitely knew at that time that I wanted to work in media. I don't know that I thought it would have anything to do with food. I probably at that time would have thought it would have been closer to comedy. But I'm very happy with how my career has played out since then, definitely.
Shout out to the Glenville North Spartans, old Sparty Jones, the green and gold.
That's right. John Shire, currently going for the national championship. Shout out, John, go Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be a Duke fan, but I am rooting hard for Duke this year.
All right. I'm a Michigan guy, so I'm going Michigan. And if Michigan doesn't win, I probably still won't go for Duke.
Okay.
But,
That's fair.
Is film school and USC what got you to LA?
I was destined to come out here because, again, I knew that I wanted to work in entertainment. But yeah, I came out here for film school and have stayed out here ever since.
So definitely wubble down on the entertainment.
Yes, definitely. You've done your research. I was just emailing with the Half Day Today group just earlier. Everybody, I hope if you're listening to this, I hope you now go out and Google Wubble Down. But more importantly, I hope you Google our Monopoly the movie trailer, which stars me as the Monopoly man. And every time a Monopoly movie comes back into the development washing machine, we all just laugh because the trailer that we made, I think, would make a great movie if someone wanted to watch it.
And I am looking for somebody to executive produce my own rap videos. So
there you go. Okay,
perhaps this is just the first of many things to come. So back to Wonder, obviously GrubHub, Blue Apron, Tastemade, food delivery, meal kits, media, retail media, all in one stack. When you zoom out, what's the chessboard look like? Are you competing with Uber? Are you competing with Netflix? Who's competition at this point?
Yeah, at the Wonder level, right, there's a pretty well-established group of delivery services, you named a few of them, that have also built ad networks, and the ad network is typically a significant portion of the profits, right? So that part is easy to see. As far as like advertising in general is concerned, I think the unique thing that Wonder now has in partnering with us is access to the largest and most impactful screen in your house. You have seen deals where a retailer like Walmart will partner with a Roku, for instance, or an Albertsons Media Network will partner with NBC Universal. Those are all like interesting and I think very fruitful deals by everything that I have read. But having all of that in-house and vertically integrated just opens up a lot more optionality. I think for advertisers as well as for Wonder. If you watch our channels today, you'll already see Blue Apron and GrubHub advertising on there. That was one of the first things we got going. And that's really just a first step to be able to have this entire group of companies work together really nicely.
As far as the content goes, the video content, you have Fast, you have AVOD, and then there's some stuff behind the Tastemade Plus subscription. Like, how do you make sure that those different business models support each other rather than cannibalize it?
Yeah, we think of it as steps in a broad customer journey. So you think about the different ways that you show up on different platforms that customers interact with. And you have to show up in a way that's native to that platform and in a way that customers are most likely going to actually interact with you. When you think of it through that lens, you start to think of it a lot like an app developer, right? An app developer thinks about an engagement journey where you're trying to get consumers every single day to engage up to a threshold with your content. And then once they hit that threshold, you're trying to get them over some kind of a hump. You're trying to get them to transact in some kind of a way because you know that means you're going to get them to engage for a really, really long time. Through that lens, I think the way that we have distributed our content makes a lot more sense. Tastemade Plus is a really, really great option for people who are our most engaged fans. And there are a lot of those people, right? There are a lot more of them who are generally just watching Tastemade, though. They're watching us on social, they're watching us on television, they're watching us on demand with ads, kind of you name it. That's a normal balance, right? Like a free product is naturally going to have just way more people, much larger addressable audience. And if we can convert a portion of that to subscription, it's to our business benefit. It's also to the customer benefit too, right? Mm-hmm. You want to get closer to us. We have an option for that. You want to watch this show ad free on demand. You want to cook this recipe and engage with us more. You can definitely do that. Here's the way to do that. So we try to bring that lens to everything, right? So Tastemade Plus, pretty much everything on Tastemade Plus is behind the paywall. And that's because the Tastemade Plus membership is for a specific person and it has a specific purpose. Our front porch, as it were, then becomes if you're watching us for free on the Roku channel. If you're watching Tastemade for free on the Roku channel and you find yourself watching a ton of Tastemade, you're probably going to get pretty interested in downloading the Tastemade OTT app so that you can go deeper on Roku or downloading Tastemade Cooking on your phone. So all of that kind of plays together within this concept of a customer journey. We're trying to get someone to first just test us for free. We're trying to get them to come back over and over again in a free ad-supported sense. And then slowly but surely, as they engage more, there's an option for them when they're ready for it that truly does give them more value. It enhances their experience of watching because, like you and I have just been talking about, you can get up off the couch. You can use your hands now.
Yep. So looking at fast and wide distribution on all these platforms as top of funnel, drive people towards bottom of the funnel, eventually get all things under the Wonder umbrella to super serve the most loyal and passionate fan.
Yeah, I try not to mince words here, but I internally police the word funnel because it implies that there's only one way to do it. Yeah. And maybe if you're working on an app, right, that may be the case where like it's a very specific sort of linear journey that people want to take. But what we're talking about is not a linear experience, right? Like there are many different ways to interact with Tastemade. There's many different ways to get closer to us on many different platforms. And through Wonder, I think that only expands, right? Now, all of a sudden, you may interact with Tastemade for the first time when you order something on GrubHub, when you become a Blue Apron member. These are all different ways that you can start a relationship with Wonder more broadly, with Tastemade, and all of them are equally good. None of them is bad. None of them is necessarily a required first step. They're all very valid ways for us to start a relationship with a customer.
I love that you said that. As I was talking about funnel, I was actually imagining a funnel with kind of two open ends. So spot on. All right. So you mentioned sending yourself a letter when you were in sixth grade, like kind of future self to old self. What's one piece of advice you would give in your NBC page self right before you put on that blazer and gave your first studio tour with everything you know now?
Yeah. I would probably tell that person to confidently go in the direction that other people are not going. I think I did a lot of that in that moment, but boy, was I anxious that I was doing something wrong at that time. Why am I doing this? Like everybody else is doing this other thing.
That's really good.
But truly, especially at that time, I think, this was a time right before YouTube had been acquired by Google some 4 years before. So we were really at the beginning of what now we all understand to be just a huge wave of change within the entire media industry. At a moment like that, it is really important to stick to a vision for yourself and stick to a vision for where you think things are going.
I love that. We went deep cuts. We went Wubble Down. We went 2004 skits based on The Onion. But we did talk about what may be more obvious is I heard you're a rabid Chicago Cubs fan.
Yes.
I think everybody needs an answer to this question. It's the bottom of the ninth, and you're walking up to the plate. What's your walk-up music? Mine. Give you a second to think. Mine is System of a Down Chop Suey. Just a slow build up, and then as I approach home plate, that's when everything just drops.
That's a good one. I probably need something that's like a little funky that kind of like relaxes me a little bit, takes the moment, kind of introduces some levity to the whole thing. So I'm gonna go like some George Clinton, some like Parliament Funkadelic.
Bootsy Collins? Some Bootsy Collins?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe something a little bit more modern, like some Silk Sonic. Again, like tries to like kind of like get everybody a little bit more in the mood to like, hey, anything can happen right now. It's gonna be okay. Trust your instincts. We're gonna be cool.
Thanks, I love it. All right, deep dish or tavern style?
Deep dish.
Oh, deep dish, really? As a native?
Yeah, we have this debate at Tastemade every day. First of all,
I know because I'm wearing the shirt.
Right. Second of all, yes, Chicago native. Obviously, I'm going to choose deep dish, but I want to be specific. Like, you don't just like get deep dish on a Tuesday night when you like have nothing else in your fridge, and so you got to order pizza. Then, of course, like I'm calling my local pizza place. But deep dish is the pizza equivalent of like the Sunday family meal. So, like when I go to Masa in Echo Park, and I call ahead and make sure that they've got the deep dish ready ahead of me. It is like a moment that my entire family can have something really, really special that tastes, I'm literally getting starving just thinking about this, that tastes unbelievable. And it's so different, right? It's so different than anything else you can get. A regular pizza is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with regular pizza.
And by regular, tavern or?
Like tavern style pizza or New York style pizza. All of them are great. They all have their place. But like, realistically, what separates tavern style pizza from, I don't know, like something, a flatbread or, something like that? It's pretty similar. A deep dish is such a unique thing.
I grew up in Ohio, which we have a Columbus style pizza, which is really just Chicago tavern, just even more edge to edge, a lot of pepperoni. Obviously, nice. Chicago's more sausage. Yeah. Fun fact, I have like 6. I make jardiniere now, if I'm saying that right. What I learned is everybody has a different way they pronounce jardiniere. So I just go with jardiniere. I don't right or wrong. But yeah, I have like curry turmeric jarred. I have regular. Yeah.
Send me some of that.
I'll have you to send you that. It will take, obviously, as you know, a pizza from an 8 to a 9.5.
Oh, yeah.
But the real beauty is it'll take a sandwich from a 6 to a 9.5.
That's right. I've got an Italian deli just down the street from me. And you have to request it to get it on the sandwich. But man, yes, there's nothing better than that on a sandwich.
Appreciate you joining for this first one. Got to talk about all my interests, media, food. Got to learn about the acquisition and what it all means and building a really fun to be kind of at the control of the flywheel. So looking forward to where that's going to be and possibly doing this again, maybe in a year or months, or just kind of see how it's all going.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. Really a pleasure. Happy to be here. Happy to be the first. Thanks for having me, Kirby.
Thanks, Evan.
Talk to you.
Bye.